know of. There haven't been any other big trials. 78% in our large phase 3 trial across all the sites. RTSS phase 3 data 55%, and importantly those confidence intervals are not close, and another phase 2b trial just reported for RTSS again. A couple of things surprised us. One of them was that age really matters. We didn't anticipate this. So if you look at the children who had their first dose at 5 to 17 months of age and measure their immune responses, they are higher at every site than in the older children. I don't know of any comparable data for any other vaccine. If you do, please tell me. So in the second half of infancy, you respond better to a malaria vaccine than you do a year later, which is probably good, but the efficacy across these two is actually different. So as well as there being higher antibody levels, there's higher efficacy in 5 to 17-month-olds, which of course is great, because those are the kids we want to vaccinate. In the second half of infancy, you need 3 doses. By the time they're 1, the age you're most likely to die of malaria at in Africa, you're as protected as you can be, and better protected than if you're vaccinated at 2.5. There's also a significantly reduced risk of clinical malaria in children with higher antibody titers right across the sites. That's good. That's what we anticipated. More antibody would be more likely to protect you. I won't dwell on the safety data. There can be a massive analysis of this. The only hint of a possible signal is slightly more febrile convulsions in the vaccinees rather than the controls. That's probably real, as the saponin adjuvant does that, but these are self-limiting events. So if you want to read more about this, the paper is out in The Lancet this Friday in great detail. So where does that leave things in terms of using this vaccine? There'll be about 35 million doses of R21 available for the rest of this year. Deployment hasn't actually started. It should in a month or two, and that's logistic. It's not that the vaccine hasn't been fully approved. It's been approved in several African countries, as well as for pre-qualification and policy recommendation by the WHO. Next year, that should go up to probably 150 million. You have 45 million children in Africa who should have a malaria vaccine. 3 doses plus a booster. I haven't talked about the boosters, except they maintain immunity. So 4 times 45 million, you need close to 200 million doses. That's totally possible. We're using a single vial presentation, not mixing like you do with RTSS. Shelf life is 2 years in the fridge. Remarkably, shelf life is 2 weeks at 40 degrees centigrade. And if more doses are needed for adults or other indications, that's certainly manufacturable. So what else are we doing to keep ourselves busy? Next steps. RH5, many of you will know, is a blood stage vaccine that's being developed by Simon Draper's group. We're going to combine R21 with RH5. I think that will give higher efficacy. We're working with several people, including those in the room, Lawrence, for example, but also Umberto and Haledo Tinto in West Africa. Lawrence working in Bangladesh, we've heard about Chittagong already, to see if we can have an impact on cross-sectional parasite rates if you vaccinate 5 to 10,000 people in the community at all ages. We do know this vaccine works in adults, at least in challenge trials in the UK, and Melissa showed you that working in Khalifi. And transmission blocking vaccines are coming along as well. They'll be needed for a final elimination eradication campaign, and they're looking increasingly promising. And big picture, we think malaria could be eradicated if funding is provided in the next 10 years. So in summary, no safety concerns after over 15,000 doses of R21 administered so far. High efficacy of 78% over a year, looks like about 65% over 4 years, and that's the highest field efficacy I know of any anti-malarial intervention. I don't mean malarial vaccine, but if you look at what the real world efficacy in deployment of bed nets, of drugs, whatever else, it's certainly lower than 75%. Our cost is $3.9 a dose. I didn't mention that. It's 9.3 for RTSS, so this is something of a bargain. Are we doing anything else? Yes, we're doing buybacks, as some of you know. Ahmed, who's in the audience, has made an RVX21 vaccine that's at GMP manufacture at the Serum Institute of India, and that will be going into trials, challenge trials here in Bangkok, hopefully, and also you've heard about Kevin's site in Indonesia, an efficacy trial, hopefully, for the combination product in West Area before too long. In case I'm asked about other trials and are we doing this, I'll leave that slide available. but finish by thanking everybody in Oxford, at the Serum Institute of India, and very, very importantly, at the 5 trial sites. Thanks very much.